so we are going to start the graduation ceremony right now. So if you can make yourself available in the temple hall, that will be wonderful. Thank you. So I congratulate all the devotees who passed the Bhakti Sastri, and without much further ado, I want to ask His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu, who is our temple president, our spiritual guide, to talk to us a little bit about the importance of Bhakti Sastri. But before that, I want to take few seconds to speak a little bit about the whole program and how it started. Way back in 2009, His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu had asked us to start the Bhakti Sastri program at ISV. Srila Prabhupada, when Vaisesika Prabhu met Srila Prabhupada, one of the instructions that he received was to not only distribute his books, but also to read his books thoroughly. And for last 40 years, His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu has been unwavering in his determination to carry out the order of Srila Prabhupada. Never have seen a personality so deeply attached to reading Srila Prabhupada's books. Every time he reads, it's as if it's new. And a few years ago, we used to have regular sessions on Srimad Bhagavatam, and I could just, it was my life's greatest privilege actually to sit and read Srimad Bhagavatam with His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu. The amount of absorption, the amount of enthusiasm he had to read, the amount of the taste he had to read, probably that was my only saving grace as far as reading Srila Prabhupada's books go. So we are deeply indebted, we are deeply thankful, and we are extremely grateful for his association that we have today. And thank you very much, Vaisesika Prabhu, and without much further ado, I would like to humbly request you to address the Bhakti Sastri graduates. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I'll take whatever you said, Srivasa Pandit Prabhu, as a benediction, coming from someone who has actual taste for the Shastra and qualification for reading them. And I remember back being in Golden Gate Park for one of the San Francisco Rath Yatras, maybe about 10 years ago, and I ran into my old friend Hanumat Preshak Swami, and he began asking me various questions about sections of the Bhagavatam which were rather obscure. And at first I was a little annoyed, and then afterwards I was thinking, why should they be obscure? They're only obscure because I don't know them. And I decided to take a more methodical approach. And I admired Hanumat Preshak Swami's methodical approach to reading Prabhupada's books, very systematic. At that time, he was carrying a nectar of instruction around his neck in a little pouch, and he would read it constantly. And then I became aware of the fact that Srivasa Pandit Prabhu was actually very scholarly, and that he came to me and said that he wanted to work with Hanumat Preshak Swami to develop a Bhakti Sastri program. And thank you. Hare Krishna. And then everything came together from there. Prabhupada inherited the name Bhakti Sastri from his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who systematically trained his disciples in the philosophy of Krishna consciousness very intensively. And he would take particular aspects of the philosophy and philosophies that challenged Gaudiya Vaishnavism, and he would have certain disciples go very deeply within those subjects and write papers on them regularly. And those papers would go out on a regular basis to the greater public, to the public in India. And in this way, he didn't tolerate any deviation. Apasadanta Dvanta Harine. This was his pranam mantra, one of his pranam mantras, that he wouldn't tolerate any deviation from the Siddhanta given by Srila Rupa Goswami. And his devotees were very learned. And this is the hallmark of the followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga Shikshartameka Purusha Purana. That they have Vairagya and Vidya. They're greatly trained in knowledge. The Goswamis of Vrindavan were the greatest scholars. And this is the tradition we come from. Baladev Vidyabhusan, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. All of the great Vaishnavas are also highly learned in the Shastra. And even in recent times, we just see that any of the devotees from the Gaudiya Math who worked under Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, his disciples were trained, highly learned, and so forth. Srila Prabhupada brought that to America miraculously. He was able to bring the philosophy of Krishna consciousness into a milieu of complete speculation, impersonalism, voidism. The American public, where he first came, was confused and conflicted by so many different philosophies of impersonalism and voidism. And one of the mission statements that Prabhupada made was to systematically train people in the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. And you can see from his beginnings in Jhansi, where he started the League of Devotees, and he wrote an elaborate mission statement that described how he wanted to train people systematically to become actual Brahmins and be learned in the Shastras and so forth. And even in the early days, there are letters where when the devotees just had a couple of books that Prabhupada brought with him, Prabhupada was asking them to take the Bhakti Sastri exam. It may not have been as demanding back then because there was a passing grade was 30%. But in any case, the various levels of advancement and the studies of the relevant Shastras was emphasized by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in the beginning. When Prabhupada began initiating, then he then said, after a few years, that he wanted those who were going to take second in initiation to be learned in the books, and they should pass at least the Bhakti Sastri exam. And now, of course, that the devotees have been around for some time, and now we have access to the books, and we can carry them with us wherever we go and so forth. There are a lot of devotees who have become very learned in the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. I mean, there's no lack of access, that's for sure. And now, of course, there's no excuse either, for becoming, fully learned in everything that's been given to us. This is a sign of gratitude. Take this seriously. And it really does help to have a goal. If one is studying for a degree and is under pressure that there's going to be an exam, then by the law of force deficiency, one digs a little deeper, isn't it? Or is it just me? When you know you're going to be tested, then you go a little deeper. And some of the material may seem a little too detailed sometimes. Why ask this question? Why not that question? And so forth. But the overall effect of systematic education is that one has more contact time with the books and gets in the habit of learning. And a professor once told me that education isn't about knowing everything, it's about knowing how to find everything and getting in the habit of doing research. And really this is the hallmark of a good devotee who's fortified with knowledge, Tachchadadhana munayo jnana vairagya yuktaya, has knowledge and detachment from the world, is he or she is dedicated, not to being lazy, isn't lazy, but is dedicated to researching. And in the first section of the Adi Lila, Prabhupada says that devotees are like professors who sit together, those big cushy chairs, they have those at Stanford, and they have a tweed jacket, and they have little patches on the elbows. That's what professors wear. My dad he always wore that. He had a pipe until it became known that, it gives you cancer. But that's what you had to have. And they'll sit there, and talk about their philosophies back and forth. And Prabhupada says, so the devotees should be like that too, minus the pipe and the thing. And discuss, in minute detail, what is the philosophy of Krishna consciousness among themselves, and delve into these. So Srivasa Pandit Prabhu has been extremely proficient. He took to the whole service of presenting the Bhakti Sastri, Bhakti Vaibhav, just in such a natural way. It's in his heritage. He comes from a learned family, and it's his nature. He's also very devotional, obviously. He doesn't express it himself, but through his steadiness and his absolute precision in everything that he does. So we're really blessed here. I go to many, many temples, and some of them are taking Bhakti Sastri from a faraway place, from overseas, or from another temple or something like that. But we have a teacher from whom people from overseas are taking classes and checking in. And it's been really nice too, the way Ramananda Saka Prabhu has organized everything here, and Nilesh and others dedicated to this cause of broadcasting. It's made this knowledge even more available, and the whole classroom has expanded. And this is very pleasing. This is what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wanted. It's what Srila Prabhupada wanted us to do. And it's really the foundation of our Krishna consciousness movement, these books. And not just the books. We don't want just books, because Prabhupada used to say, whenever we'd tell him about big book distribution, often he would say, are you reading the books? And he said, what if you go out and present the book and someone asks you a tricky question and you can't answer it? It's not very good. So this is one of the foundational programs here at ISV. I can imagine that if we didn't have any other assets, if we had our books and this system of distributing them and a system of distributing them internally to ourselves, then we would still be 100% performing the yajna of Krishna consciousness in the age of Kali Yuga. So my deep thanks to His Grace Srivasa Pandit Prabhu. Let's please give him a... Also, to His Holiness Hanumat Preshak Swami, who's really the inspiration behind the Bhakti Sastri. He's really driven it everywhere he goes. He lives and breathes it, and he's constantly thinking about how to improve it and push it forward. So, a round for Hanumat Preshak Swami. And I mentioned our previous acharyas and our founder acharya, and now also you can acknowledge one another for your diligent studies of Srila Prabhupada's books. And now Srivasa Pandit Prabhu has these certificates, which are actually cherishable items. It represents how you've performed a yajna for pleasing Krishna in this lifetime. So we'll give you this. It's signed by the teacher himself, and you can put it in a nice frame. Yeah.
Actually, just to add to that, His Grace Rasika Shekhara Prabhu, he graduated the Bhakti Sastri, and he was a deep scholarly academician, and he held so many degrees in his lifetime and so many other certificates. But when we went to his house, and in those days we used to have, because the temple was small, we used to have exams at his house, and he and Sonal Mataji would graciously open their house, and we would all get into the house, everywhere, grab a sofa, grab a dining table, every which way we would sit, and then we would blissfully take exam in his house. So I have not seen his PhD certificate. I have not seen many of the numerous certificates that he received over his lifetime, but he prominently framed his Bhakti Sastri certificate and put it in his house. And so just a recollection of His Grace Rasika Shikara Prabhu. So we can start. I ask His Grace Balivardhan Prabhu to get his certificate, Bhakti Sastri certificate.
Jai Bali Mardan! Haribol!
Is Ananda Mataji there?
Can I say just one word?
Yes.
Thank you. So you must be surprised by getting the certificate from here. I never attended, but just wanted to say in 2000, by 2000, I did my Bhakti Sastri in Delhi, and we are running through some Gita study group with Sri Hari Prabhu. He lives in Boise for many years, and then Hanumat Prashna Maharaj said, there are some newcomers also joining. They said that I'll give you 30% exemption, credit of Bhakti Sastri, so why not encourage them? Because that was the initial time where Srivasa Pandit Prabhu was developing the course and promoting the Bhakti Sastri. So all of them, they became the Bhakti Sastri group, and they completed, including myself. So thanks that I got second time. I wanted to do third time also, so that the course and the intensity remains in the heart. Thank you, Srivasa Pandit Prabhuji and Vaisesika Prabhu, for giving me.
Thank you. Anand Vrindavan Mataji. Malini. Next. Mukharavinda Prabhu next.
I forgot one thing. Da, 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 da.
Raseshwari Mataji. Kameshwari Mataji. Sri Kumar Prabhu is here. All right. Hari Sankirtan Prabhu. Hari Vamsha Prabhu next. Rajendra Kumar Prabhu.
Stay in the microphone.
Tulsi Lata Mataji is next.
Bravo!
Damodar Vilasan. Sudeep Sabnis. Okay, go ahead.
Like as Balimardan Prabhu also said, I also never really attended class here, but thanks to Ramananda Sakha Prabhu and team, I attended all the lectures, or most of the lectures I should say, online, either through Sacramento or in Los Angeles, or maybe wherever else I may be. So thank you so much, Ramananda Sakha Prabhu.
Sorry. I would like to thank, and I want to invite and thank Shamlangi Mataji for not only completing her Bhakti Sastri certificate, but also helping us out with the administration, emails, and so many other things. Thank you so much, Mataji. Is not there. Raj Srivasa is not. He's in India. Mayapur Vihari Prabhu. Okay. Priya Kishori. Anybody? Sri Kumar Prabhu. Next. Haribol! So I think that's it. We have Damodar Vilas Prabhu. Please give him a hand. All these are in absence. Lavanya Shivkumar. She is not there. Raj Srivastava. And Mayapur Vihari Prabhu. So these four somehow we can. I thank His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu for kindly agreeing to give us the certificates. It's a great inspiration and boost for all of us, so that we take this certificates as our stepping stone for reading Srila Prabhupada's books even deeper and thinking ourselves even more fortunate that we got the entrance, and then we take this to take it even more seriously about reading Srila Prabhupada's books, because these books fortify our intelligence, given the fact that this material world is changing so fast, and in most of the cases in a really wrong direction. These books are a beacon of hope and a strong source of, you can say, food for our intelligence to keep us strong in our Krishna consciousness. And the conclusions Srila Prabhupada has presented in his books are timely, easily understandable, at the same time profoundly passing the wisdom of previous acharyas. And only a genius like Srila Prabhupada could achieve that with what he did. So we owe to the present ISKCON gurus and His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada that at least the basic minimum reciprocation we can do to the previous acharyas and the Guru Parampara is to actually carefully read these books and pass these books to others, as we have been doing at ISV, both reading them and passing to others.
I'll just add that everyone should feel free to move on to the Bhakti Vaibhav. Think that, make a lifetime career of this. And it's given in sections. Next is Bhakti Vaibhav, by which you go through the first 6 cantos of the Srimad Bhagavatam very carefully. And then after that would be Bhakti Vedanta, which you would complete the Bhagavatam. And then there's Bhakti Sarvabhauma, which you go through the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And so it's always good to have a goal in front of you, so that you're driven to reach that goal. Prabhupada encouraged that we should always have a fresh challenge in front of us. And a lifelong dedication to the Shastra, specifically Prabhupada's books, we can see makes devotees steady and gives them the wherewithal to teach everyone that they come in contact with in a standard way, a standard according to the revealed scriptures. And this is what's really needed in the world today. I think sometimes people spend so much time in education and so forth for vocational reasons. Originally, education had a lot more to do with discovering the meaning of life and so forth. And educational institutions were kind of exciting places. Now, I see this as a replacement. Really, those who can devote more and more of their time to studying the Shastra are making themselves ready for taking care of people all over the world, answering questions that are vexing people because they've lost their way in the material world. And I'm just encouraging you to just fully take on this study of Prabhupada's books. Don't stop at Bhakti Sastri, but go for all of them. And when you finish Bhakti Vaibhav, demand that you get the Bhakti Vedanta. And not just, Srivasa Pandit's willing to give it, but there's a way in which the overall institution, when there's a demand, then the supply comes. That's the way it works in the world. And we should be very strong here at ISV in this ethic of working hard to study the Shastras and moving ahead to the next level. Every one of us should go on and finish the Bhakti Vaibhav, and then finish the Bhakti Vedanta and the Bhakti Sarvabhauma. I think that we should make some kind of goals, the way we do goals for our book distribution and other things, to see if we can't get everyone over the Bhakti Sarvabhauma finish line as quickly as possible. And at the rate we're going, it's really good, but it would be nice if we took up a little bit of a competitive spirit in this way and gave, strong attention to being one of the most solid, academically based branches of ISKCON in the world. What do you think? Yeah. So, okay, we can start brainstorming in that way, make even more visibility for this program, and maybe make some goals for all of us so we can rally around that and stick together as we go through systematically and read all of Prabhupada's books very carefully. It will please Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, all the previous acharyas, and that's what we're looking for. Not only that, we remember Krishna easily that way at the time of death, by staying constantly in contact with these books.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for encouraging us. We have about 5 more minutes, so if any devotees want to share quickly their realizations or had any feedback for the course that can help us to improve better. So, this is the time. I'll come around with the mic, so you don't have to come. Okay.
Thank you, Srivasa Pandit Prabhu. It was like a wonderful journey. In India, I was always fearful to take this course. It is not so easily accessible as you have made it easily accessible to all the devotees, and so that is the first thing, the ease of access. That is not easily available everywhere. So thank you so much for giving and making it for everyone. And also we would like to, for there's a teacher, then there is also, we need the special extra assistant. So there is Shraddha Mataji who is to teach many of us so that we can easily get good marks and learn, understand. So I'd like to thank Shraddha Mataji also for making us to study and more deeply understand this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mukharavinda Prabhu.
So I wanted to also share the difference from last many years how ISKCON has evolved in the Bhakti Sastri, because when we did 98, 99 at the time, there are a lot of books are not in place for the light of Bhagavatam, and then also about the Ishopanishad. It was focused more on the Bhagavad Gita and act of instruction. And the course contents were also not so intensely described because they are also rewriting. And the instruction was also from one person, so you do not have diverse people and different things, just like Hanumat Prashad Maharaj has written many detailed explanations. So that is tremendously developed by the year, which is really a great thing. And I hope much more can be also done in refinement in the studies, because I understand there is one in BIHE, they are also doing kind of a video tutorial, and accessibility means those who are physically disabled or in eye or something, they cannot, so they are also going through the process of these studies. And from my personal experience, because when I did first time, it was new to Krishna consciousness because I started in 97. So the enthusiasm level was very high and extreme, but the experience and the dimension level was low, means we have not exposed to different things. So the absorption, even though the enthusiasm itself is such a great tool, then you gather more. But later on when I did my second one, even I was, to be honest, not too much enthusiastic, but it was at least the experience and exposures are a little broad, so we can deep dive into different areas. So, but over the whole, the continuous knowledge learning should go on, and Bhakti Sastri will recommend. I asked Balram to join, and thank you Srivasa Pandit Prabhu that they have enrolled, including some other kids also. So it is, we should as a parents, if somebody is not, they should also encourage to begin with the Bhakti Sastri, nothing difficult, only with the association of devotees, they would be more going forward. Thank you Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Balimardhan Prabhu. Sudeep and then Harivamsha Prabhu. 3 more minutes.
Thank you very much, Srivasa Pandit Prabhu. One thing I would say is one of my realizations were that without Bhakti Sastri, knowing myself, I would not have read cover to cover those books. And I always used to say, Srivasa Pandit Prabhu, I really do not, this is for the first time that I have not cared about the exams at all. In fact, it's also the time where I don't even care. Even if I failed, that's an opportunity to reread these books again. And thanks to Srivasa Pandit Prabhu's kindness and mercy of setting the paper, he was very lenient in that, I would say. But one other thing was, one of my suggestions would be that now that most of us are Bhakti Shastri graduates, it's a great thing to go back and devote yourself to helping out in any way in Bhakti Shastri, because that way you, again, Srivasa Pandit Prabhu has been kind enough to give me some service, and it is helping me go over the material again and refresh. And I'm extremely, extremely grateful for that. So I urge and I request everyone to continue to do so, because with the lapse of time, it so happens that you tend to forget, and if you constantly stay in touch, I think it's a great way. And also, it's also useful for the entire staff. So thank you.
Thank you once again, Srivasa Pandit Prabhu and His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu. One thing which really inspired and encouraged me throughout was, the approachability of our teacher. I don't know how many times I have bugged him with my questions, but he always came across in a very methodical manner, and always he spent time, he took the trouble to spend the time in the class or on the phone, on the mail, otherwise. So that is very, very encouraging, and I don't have any other comment, but earnest request to launch Bhakti Vaibhav soon.
Thank you, Srivasa Prabhuji, for, and I also want to thank Vaisesika Prabhu, ISB, and all the devotees who gave me an opportunity to read the Prabhupada books. So my realization, Prabhuji, is I think it's very hard to read the books at home, and you really put me on schedule and to read all those 3 different books. So I just want to say thank you. And thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Tarun, Harivamsha Prabhu, and Sudeep.
I also wanted to thank Srivasa Prabhu and my Guru Maharaj Vaisesika Prabhu. I just remember right now how I had started this course. It was 2012 January. I was in Palo Alto for the Harinam, and though I was coming twice, but still I felt very new. But I was hearing from other devotees, and I somehow wanted to join the course, because that time I was coming regularly to temple, but sometimes I could not follow what was being said in the lecture, and that really made me very sad that I am not probably still a part of the the team here. So I requested him that, Prabhuji, can I join? I'll be at the back benchers, and he welcomed me very heartily, and somehow the difference now I really can feel. I don't know everything still now, but at least I can understand the lecture and relate. When somebody says the shloka, I can relate, okay, this is from this chapter, so that makes me happy. Thank you, Haribol.
Thank you, Shamalangi Mataji.
Hare Krishna. I just also wanted to express my deep gratitude. It was for the last 2 years. I really don't know how I got the courage, because being involved in so many services, especially taking care of the kids, they're still very young. I was not sure at the first time whether I could do it. And then thanks to all the encouragement that I received from the devotees, Srivasa Prabhu, Sukeshwari Mataji, Shamalangi Mataji, and Kameshwari Mataji, during the exam time, I would say that in the last 2 years of this course, the most ecstatic moments was the night before the exam. Because there was no excuse for me to not just pour into Prabhupada's books and try to gather all the nectar and to be able to, oh, this question, oh, this is the answer. And it was just so ecstatic. And I think the most memorable time was Nectar of Devotion, because I did joint study with Shamalangi Mataji and Kameshwari Mataji. It was really just like, the best Sangha of studying together for almost 3 weeks. And every evening, no matter what, half an hour, we had to sit down and talk. So that was like the association, the maximum I could get. I was very happy during those days. The most happiest, I would say. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Do we have a couple of more minutes? I think we are 4:15. We have to start.
Keep going.
Keep going. Okay, there we go.
Hare Krishna. What I liked in Bhakti Sastri class is the discussion when Srivasa Pandit Prabhu, he just left us to give reflections, questions, and comments, and he used to very nicely explain everything in different angles, taking everyone's suggestion and comments, and so that the whole thing, the theme and the details were covered in all the comments. So that was very lively, and moreover the examination part, yes, as Rajeshwari Mataji was telling, it was so ecstatic. Like about a week before, we used to really seriously go and take out the books and started reading, and it was like excitement what we had in universities back in India. So yeah, even I felt very ecstatic before exam. Thank you, Srivasa Pandit Prabhu, that he cleared a lot of my doubts, and this Bhakti Sastri course has given me really good insight of what Srila Prabhupada has written and meant in the books. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Haribol. First of all, I would like to thank Srivasa Pandit Prabhu, because in this last 2 years, he has accommodated different schedules of all devotees and encouraged them. And many a times he extended the exam, postponed the exam and gave us some more time to read and learn. So thank you for adjusting all that and making it possible for working devotees, married devotees with children and with such a tight schedule. And then on the parallel side, they're completing Bhakti Sastri. That goal is all the devotees are experiencing that goal achievement. So thank you very much for.
Thank you very much, Srivasa Pandit Prabhu, for allowing me to be your student. It was such a nice experience studying Bhakti Sastri. I, like many other devotees said, I probably would have never been able to really relish Bhagavad Gita from cover to cover. And the best part was studying for the exam and writing the exam. That was the best part. And I encourage everybody to take this wonderful opportunity and study Bhakti Sastri, because I don't think you'll ever get a merciful teacher like Prabhuji.
As I want to add that I like how Srivasa Pandit Prabhu was flexible for the Sankirtan, because he sees the overall purposes and goals and molds the teaching of Bhakti Sastri and the other degrees around what's going on at the temple. So it was very harmonious. You had mentioned he accommodated devotees who were working and things like that. And I saw many times that he would postpone an exam because there was a marathon going on, the devotees had to go out and things like that. That's not ordinary. That's really, an enlightened kind of way of having a realization of how to have horizontal alignment within the organization. And it was very well done. Thank you.
I just wanted to share the external view because I was not the participant, but I was the observer from outside world because of Shamalangi, So I think it just put you back like, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years, depends on when you were in the college. I could see Matajis calling each other, working group, early morning, late evenings, review sessions, this and that. I mean, just don't want to discourage those who are in the Bhakti Sastri group right now. It's not that intense. But I felt really good that the dedication and the devotion which I could see, the intensity which, but they studied, I think it was very inspiring, and I could relate that it is, they really cherished that time actually. So it's something which we should be very happy.
Okay, Sri Kumar. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to take this opportunity and thank Srivasa Pandit Prabhu for really supporting us through this, Prabhuji. Otherwise, definitely I would not have read Srila Prabhupada's books as much as I read as part of this course. Not at all possible. And really, reading those books, we can understand how really there's so many things Prabhupada explained there. Without reading that, would never have got a chance to even get there. So thank my deepest gratitude to Prabhuji for that. Thank you.
I also like to thank His Grace Srivasa Pandit Prabhu for the course, for conducting the course, because as everybody said, it was an opportunity to read Bhagavad Gita. We also would like to see if we can do multiple courses again so that we can continue reading it. I don't know how to do it, but if there is some crash course and we can spend some couple of months studying, it makes, because what we found is that during the last week when we were studying, we really relished reading Bhagavad Gita. But once the exams are over, we went back to our original schedule of not reading regularly. So somehow we can incorporate it by some means of mechanism. It will be very interesting to participate in that. So if something can be done. And also what I found is some devotees are scared of taking exams because they didn't study it. And they just don't take the exam. There is nothing to fear, because even if you fail, you're just getting chance to read again. So don't have a fear of failure, and just take the exam. Writing the exam itself was very good experience, because you could just try to process recollecting your thoughts, what you have read, whatever you have read, and it was very good. Not only the study, but the exams were also very interesting. So just go ahead and do it, and you'll enjoy it. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Actually, I want to give some inside view about what happens Bhakti Sastri. Actually, I'm very grateful to Prabhu that he encouraged me to read Srila Prabhupada's books. And the best thing I found was when I did the Bhakti Sastri course, I was able to focus more and get more information, as opposed if there was no exam. I was just reading, but maybe getting only a little bit. And I also wanted to comment about the hard work that Srivasa Prabhu puts in to do this course, because it's not easy. He has to do his Bhakti Vaibhava course, then he has to do the Bhakti Sastri course, and there is another Bhakti Vaibhava batch. But he doesn't take anything so lightly. He takes everything so seriously. And that is actually a great encouragement for me also to be dedicated to his service. And I also want to add one thing, was that his integrity, though I took the course, if I wanted to, I had access to the questions or question papers and everything. So much so that I would have some fights with Srivasa just before the exam, because if I ask him any questions, he would say, "Are you trying to get question paper out of me?" And he would make sure that the question paper is not on any of the home computers or are printed anywhere at home, so that I wouldn't see the question paper before everybody else. So actually that helped me to learn the integrity as well. So I'm very grateful for that as well. Thank you so much.
Just to add to her comment, I said, okay, you want me, I can show you the question paper. She said, I'll never take the exam if you show me the question paper, just to add that. but now that it's done, and I think, I remember first time I asked Vaisesika Prabhu to actually go over and grade her paper, so that, there is no there is a third party witness, independent witness to that. Thank you, Prabhuji. Come. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Srivasa Pandit Prabhu, for all the guidance and encouragement throughout the Bhakti Sastri course. He has been very accommodating. And I remember after the first exam when I passed, I asked Srivasa Pandit Prabhu for thank you so much for passing me. And then Prabhuji said, actually, because you attended all the classes, that's all, you just have to be there. And he was just encouraging, actually. I don't think I did very nicely, but in all the way, he always encouraged. And there was a time when there was a presentation for us to make a presentation as a part of the course, and I was very afraid, and he helped a lot and guided me how to go through it, and I was able to do it. Thank you so much. And I also want to thank Shraddha Mataji. One time when we started Bhagavad Gita, and she helped me a lot. We used to read few minutes during lunchtime, and I used to write down questions if I have any. She used to clarify my doubts. I used to write to her also along with Prabhuji. So, and also for some of us, she actually did some conference calls just before, a few days before, so that she can give a snapshot of what the chapter is about. And that was very helpful. Thank you so much, Shraddha Mataji, for that. And then also I studied with Vaisesika, Shamalangi Mataji as a group. It was a wonderful time. And because of their association, it made it very easy. I thought it was very confusing after reading everything, but it sounds very clear when we listen in the class. And then if I think about exams, then I think that everything is same, how to really, write it. So I think with the association of Shamalangi Mataji and Vaisesika Mataji, it was very clear going through all the contents, and it helped me a lot, and it was a wonderful time. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I think we can stop here now. It's time for our Sunday feast. In case, sorry, Vaisesika Prabhu, if we went over the time, it was not the intention. It was to get the past negative feedback, room for improvement rather than anything.
It's all Krishna Katha, nectar. I mean, it's very nice.
So we are continuing with our Bhakti Sastri. We completed the first semester of the third batch, and then we are going to continue reading Bhagavad Gita from next month on. So there is those who have not joined and those who are interested might sign up, because we don't have any order on which semester you can join. So if there are questions, you can always approach me or Shamalangi Mataji or Shraddha Mataji, and they'll be guide. Bhakti Vaibhav, yes, we are going to start sometime in August. The batch of Bhakti Vaibhav, starting from the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you very much. His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu ki jai.
Srivasa Pandit Prabhu ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Guru Parampara ki jai.